We're talking about EMDR therapy in this video. EMDR therapy is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. It's a handful, that's why it's EMDR. Okay, it's not that whole library textbook. EMDR is a type of reprocessing therapy that affects your brain on a chemical level, so it's not just talking to someone about your feelings. EMDR therapy has changed my life, literally changed who I am as an individual, and is something that I will talk about until the day that I die with anybody who will listen. So we're gonna talk about it today. We're gonna talk about my experience with it, and then I'm gonna go into a little bit about how it works. Listen, I'm not a psychologist and I don't know anything about anything, but I know how my therapist explained it to me, and it made a lot of sense that way. Based on my experience with it firsthand, I cannot believe that this is not a therapy that is pushed more. Growing up, okay, actually, okay, I don't know if I want to talk about my childhood at all. I got to a point in 19, where I had hit a rock bottom, okay, really bad rock bottom. I'm very aware, like, of everything, painfully so. I'm aware of my own thoughts, my own feelings, how everything affects me. I'm aware of the fact that I am an individual experiencing emotions, experiencing life. They are not me, but I am experiencing things, like, I don't know how to explain it if you don't already get it. I'm an eldest daughter, first generation immigrant family. I have a lot of stuff under the surface there, and I hit a rock bottom in regards to my pent up anger, frustration, and pain from growing up. I kind of wanted to start therapy because I didn't know where else to go. There was nowhere else for me to go, but I didn't want to just sit down and talk to somebody. Like, I don't need somebody to talk to, babe. I read enough psychology books. I read enough self-help books. I know enough. I literally studied psychology on my own in how child's brains develop. I listened to every single podcast ever. Could there have been an overconsumption of media and information? Probably. I've done my own research. I've read enough books. I don't need somebody to be like, the feeling is valid. Get me out of here. So I did some research on therapy that actually gets into your brain and like rewires it, because I was like, I'm not gonna survive another I don't know how many years if my brain is in this shape. Do some research, literally Google types of therapy, come across EMDR, read a synopsis about EMDR, watch some YouTube videos quick. It was like 2 o'clock on a Tuesday or something, and I was like, okay. It was a little sus because at first it can come off a little bit as hypnosis. It's not at all, not even close. Looked up closest EMDR therapy office to me. Found one, called. The chick's like, hey, how can I help you? And I'm like, hey, I'm 19 years old. I'm hitting a rock bottom here. I need to process a bunch of stuff because I don't want to hold resentment towards my parents. They're getting older. I'm getting older. I don't want to deal with that. She was like, okay, let me transfer you to this therapist that specializes in your age group. And I was like, perfect. Sat on hold for maybe 8 seconds. Lady's like, hi, my name is Beep. Tell me a little bit about what's going on. I was like, listen, I don't want to hold resentment. I have a lot of resentment. I need to let go of a lot of stuff. I need you to help me. I did some research on EMDR. Do you offer EMDR? She said, yes, absolutely. I said, perfect. Can I come over tomorrow? And she said, yes, you can, 10 a.m. I was like, perfect. I'm there. Took my information. I didn't even give myself time to hesitate, think, anything. Next day, 10 a.m., I was there, okay? Oh my God, I thought someone was knocking on my door. But she basically told me on the phone that through our therapy sessions, the first couple ones, we're going to make a list of big events in our lives, in my life, that were traumatic, that were very pivotal, that I think have long-lasting effects to this day, right? So I was like, okay, cool. I made that list night of, in severity order, okay? There were like 12 things on there of traumatic events that have happened to me that I know are affecting me to this day. Is somebody knocking on my door? No. My camera's about to die. 1 second. Okay, so I make the list. Am I tripping? 1 second. I get to the appointment. I'm literally like vibrating in my seat in the waiting room. I'm like, I'm legit tweaking. Because I had never been to therapy. I never even considered therapy. Listen to me when I say this. Again, I am the eldest daughter. My dad, not so much my mom, my dad, growing up was like, therapy is for weak, pathetic losers that don't know how to manage their emotions, right? That's what I grew up on, babe, okay? My whole life, I thought, if I go to therapy, my dad's going to be so disappointed in me, like so upset with me. So I just never considered it. I never thought about it. I didn't think that it was a real thing that could actually impact me in a permanently positive way. I'm tweaking. They're doing some work next door. Whatever, my bad, okay? Literally, I'm tweaking in the waiting room. I'm like, oh my God, like if this doesn't work, I'm just about to waste like almost $150. Plus, I made my list because I was paying $100 and something per session. Babe, I was 18. Like, I don't think you get it. Like, I'm not here to dish out thousands of dollars, you know what I'm saying? I sit down, okay? My therapist, and I'll tell you more about her later. I would die for this lady. This is perfect timing. I sit down. I sit down and I'm like, hi. Okay, they're doing work next door and this is like such beautiful timing. I don't care, I'm gonna film anyway. I sit down, she's like, hi, what's your name? I'm like, Oriana, nice to meet you. She's like, okay, so we talked on the phone. I'm like, yes, we did. I cut her off. I was like, listen, I'm not here for someone to talk to. I feel as though I am aware enough to be able to explain to you that I'm not here to pay for someone to talk to. I made my list, here I brought it, I pull out my notepad. She's like, literally, she goes, we can start with number one, but I need you first to explain to me how EMDR works because I watched some YouTube videos and it's a little bit nerve-wracking because it kind of seems like hypnosis, but I just want to make sure that it's not because I'm not here to do that. And I think that your professional insight could be good in regards to assessing the capacity of my brain right now. She literally froze and was like, okay. And I was like, oh no, I scared her off. She was like, nobody has ever come into my office this prepared before. She's like, I can tell right now your life is about to change. Your late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s are going to be the best years of your life because you're doing this early on. She said, I'm very impressed by this. And I was like, like my people pleasing, like fear of disappointment ate that up. And immediately I was like, just because she said she's impressed, was proud for me. I was like, that was worth $150. Like you just giving me that. Thank you. I needed it. She basically explained EMDR like this, okay? And this is how she said she explains it to everybody. And this is what stuck with me. EMDR is a reprocessing therapy, which takes the emotion from a memory, the emotion and the one-sided perspective, and separates it from the memory, from the event. So you reprocess the event while your brain is separating the emotion and the one-sided perspective, your perspective. So it's just stored as a factual event. No emotion is tied to it. No perspective is tied to it. It's just stored as something that happened. That's it. And I was like, what the F does that even mean, dude? Well, here's the thing. This is where I start geeking out, okay? Because this is so cool. You do EMDR therapy, and there are 3 different stimulants that you can use. Headphones, these little pods that you put in your hands, one in each hand, and then there is a light bar. I don't need the extra stimulation of the light bar, so I just use the 2 stimulants anytime I process, which is the headphones and the 2 pods. It swings. So let's say you're using all 3. You have a light bar in front of you, and it has dots on it, kind of like a makeup mirror, lights. At the same time that you hear a beep in your right ear and your right hand pod vibrates, the light bar is like lighting up to swing. So it's going doo 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 and like lighting up here, and then it swings back. So this will beep, this will vibrate, and this side will light up. So it'll swing back and forth, okay? Not everybody needs the 3 stimulants, but some brains, because they're so cluttered, do until you don't. I didn't need the light bar, so I process with my eyes closed and just let the beep and the vibration swing, okay? This swinging stimulates the same wavelength. This part is crazy, bro. Like, it's just crazy. This pattern and rhythm of wave stimulates the same electrical current in our brain that we get when we REM sleep at night. REM sleep is used for storing the memories of the day you just lived, storing them away as events. When you have something traumatic happen to you, your brain cannot fall into the REM cycle that night, so you never process that event or that memory. Now, my therapist gave me this example. Let's say you're in kindergarten, coloring with your friends on a table, minding your own business, your little tiny brain, little tiny heart. Your friend across from you says, hey, can you pass me that purple crayon? You're like, yeah. As you're finishing putting down your crayon and go to grab the purple crayon, your friend next to you has already handed the one across from you the crayon. And you're like, oh. And you look at your other friend and they're so happy that your friend gave them the crayon. They're like, thank you so so much. This is my favorite color crayon. Like, I can't wait to color with it. And you're watching this interaction like, oh, in your little brain, you feel bad. In your little kid brain, that was a big moment for you because you felt like you didn't deliver for your friend. So you weren't fast enough, you weren't good enough, you weren't there when they needed you. And that night, your brain, your little kindergarten brain, can't REM process that event, that memory. So over time, unprocessed events like that, unstored, snowball into bigger things in your brain because they were never processed, never put away with the detachment of emotion and perspective. They snowball. Every single traumatic thing that has happened to you, whether it was like minuscule like that when you were in kindergarten, it still made you feel bad. Every single thing snowballs into a bigger thing if you don't process it. In your adult life, you can have feelings of, I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like I can't be there for people when they need me. I feel like I'm slow when it comes to helping others. You would never guess that those feelings come from that moment at that table in your kindergarten year, but it does. It literally does. Now, obviously that event, the coloring at the table, is not, out of the ordinary, traumatic, or violent. But it's just an example to show how things can snowball and how REM sleep is vital to process things. The more you lack REM sleep, the more events you will have or feelings you will have that will snowball into bigger things in your adult life, okay? Oh my God, this is crazy. The stimulants during EMDR therapy, the beeping, the vibrating, and the light bar, I'm just gonna talk about the beeping and the vibrating because I don't use the light bar, but it's essentially the same thing. Recreate the same electrical current in your brain that you need to process during REM sleep at night. So, I asked my therapist, how does this look, essentially? How am I going to process? She said a lot of people process differently. She said some people process through analogy. Some people process through crying and letting stuff out. I personally process by taking the headphones, putting them on, the pods in my hands, and I close my eyes. What you do is you pick the one picture from the traumatic event. This fruit fly has been in my way all morning and I am freaking out. I don't even have fruit. Okay. You pick the one key frame that you always see in your head when you think back to it. I process by seeing the event unfold and happen again in third person. So me now is watching it happen. I'm watching me, I'm watching the people around me, I'm watching the atmosphere, I'm watching the setting, I'm watching how I'm feeling in the moment, and I process by watching it happen third person, and then at some point, usually, I have a one-on-one with myself. Me now, and then me from that event, from that time, where I'm able to talk to that girl and be like, you tried your best. Like, this wasn't your fault. You weren't responsible. You were a child. Like, you had no idea. And kind of just like talk to myself like a parent would to emotionally nurture that version of me. Dude, the first time I did EMDR therapy, I don't think we did it the first session. I think we did it the second one because the first one she was explaining it to me, breaking it down, kind of like educating me on what it is. And I really appreciated her taking time to go into the details of it because that's what kind of makes me believe in something or not. The first time I did EMDR therapy, she said if I kept like breaking free from my train of thought, then we were gonna have to use the light bar because the light bar just kind of locks you in visually instead of just audibly and like touch sense. It's like another lock-in pretty much. I didn't have any trouble. My brain wasn't really like veering from my train of thought when processing the memory. She stopped me about 2 minutes in and she was like, how are you feeling? I was sweating my nuts off. My heart was beating out of my chest and there were tears streaming down my face. I did not notice this. I opened my eyes and I was literally like, out of breath, and she was like, you're okay, you're here. So I grounded for a second. I was like, I feel fine, but like, why am I breathing so heavy? She's like, that's very normal because you're living pretty much through the traumatic event again. It was almost like I was watching a dream, but it had been a real memory. So I knew like what I was feeling in the moment. I was like re-feeling all those feelings. That's why I was physically worked up. She puts me back, close my eyes, process again. I finished processing and I open my eyes. She's like, okay, how do you feel? I explained how I felt. The one thing about EMDR, because it takes away your perspective and your emotion, you're able to see it in such a neutral light that it's almost laughable. You're able to see it without any judgment, any perspective, any emotional tie to it. So you just see it as this neutral third party, which is crazy because that stuff that you're processing, I've lost sleep over that kind of stuff. So for me to just look at it and be like, yeah, I mean, you know, like what, bro? We finished my first session and I asked her, I'm like, wow, how long was that? She was like, 45 minutes. What? It felt like 5 minutes. I literally froze. I was like, are you serious? She's smiling at me, looking at me because she knows. She was like, that was a long time. Your first bit was 30 minutes. Your second one was close to 20. And I was like, I'm scared. Like, it's crazy how we can lose track like that when we're in our brain. So a 45-minute EMDR session felt like 5 minutes. My mind was blown. I was in shock. I was exhausted. Like, here's the one thing about EMDR. Every single session that I do, I'm literally brain dead for the rest of the day. It's not something that you should do in the morning and then plan meetings after for work. Like, no, babe. You have to take it easy. It's hard to focus after. It's hard to be productive after. It's hard to pay attention after. It takes a really big toll on your brain. You're very exhausted. It's emotionally draining, psychologically draining. So we do my first session and we had processed an event that had given me nightmares every single night since I was a sophomore in high school. So that was close to 4 years, barely sleeping for 4 years, okay? Go home that night, slept through the night. So I was like, next morning I'm like, okay. I'm like, you know, I was exhausted. I was tired. Like, it was probably that. Like, I was just really tired, whatever. The next week goes by. No nightmares. I'm not up at night. I'm like, all right, this has got to be placebo. Like, there's literally no way. Like, there's no way. 4 years of this, like, there's no way. It's just like from 1 second to the next, done, right? Babe, that was it. I have had maybe like 2 or 3 nightmares since then, and it's been 4 years again. 2 or 3 nightmares of that event. Nothing else. I was shook. I was shook to my core. To this day, I get chills thinking about it. Like, I don't think I'm able to properly verbalize the daily weight and effects that those nightmares had on me every single night for 4 years. 4 years of night terrors over something that had happened to me when I was younger. And from one therapy session to the next, I'm able to sleep through the night. It's enough to cry over. I remember crying about it for multiple days because I was so in shock and so relieved. Going to bed every night, knowing you're gonna wake up multiple times crying, it was starting to become a chore to sleep, and it was taking a toll obviously on my mental health, not being able to sleep for more than a couple hours at a time. It was a very big shift. One thing that my therapist did tell me was that once you start EMDR therapy, your first reprocessing session, your brain the whole time in between sessions is reprocessing all the memories you have. So, you know, when you're on a laptop and you have multiple tabs open and you're only in one tab, but your computer frame is going, you know, girl is working hard. That's literally what your brain is like up to 6 months after your last session. So she did tell me, be aware that you will be short fused, you will be easily agitated, you will be very swingy in your emotions because there's a lot going on back there, and you're not gonna have as much emotional elasticity as you usually do. I was like, fair, girl was right, okay, and I didn't think it was gonna be that bad because I'm volatile in general. That's my nature, I would say. Less now than before, but at the time, girl, I was a ticking time bomb. So she was very right. I was on a very short fuse for the first, I don't know how long I went until I had my break. I think it was a year or two. EMDR therapy saved my life. And I wish I was being dramatic when I say that. And I feel like people throw around, me included, saying something changed your life or saved your life or altered the state of your emotional being. We throw it around pretty lightly because we love to be dramatic. And by we, I mean me as well. Please do not take this lightly. EMDR therapy changed who I am as an individual. And I'm still doing it because my mom died in 2022. The first batch of trauma out of the way, the next batch steps up. And it's like, okay, why don't we process this as well? Because if we trace every event back to now, there are some issues that you need to fix. You also go through traumatic things randomly in your day-to-day, in your adult life, that affect you after it's happened, and you don't really think much of it because I think nowadays we're very much on go and very much on productivity and don't get in my way and shove it down because it's a waste of time. Everything from your childhood will follow you and will snowball if you don't take care of it. And it's not something to place blame or point fingers or anything, but if you have the finances, if you have the resources, I would 100,000% suggest EMDR therapy. If you feel like you're just kind of like this bottled up version of negative emotion, it has helped me grow, heal, release, come into myself, and really feel like I'm allowed to be happy. I'm allowed to let go of things. I'm allowed to feel emotions and then just like let them go. I can't tell you how much lighter I feel after discovering EMDR therapy. I swear, like the first year was intense. I was going through a lot daily, and I was also going through a lot emotionally and mentally because I was in therapy processing stuff from before. You have to realize in every session you are reliving a traumatic event. So it's not something that's light. It's not just talking to somebody about it. It's very intense. You are restructuring your emotional brain. It's insane. I could not rave more about it. My first therapist was with me up until about 2022. Think about her almost daily. Like, she was the perfect person for me in those first 2 years of therapy. Such like a nurturing therapist, but also held that professional boundary and was very responsible, not just with her job, but also my emotions. I miss her every single day. She's not dead, but she's like working at another office now. And I know her dream was to always start her own practice. So I really wish her nothing but the best. Honestly, like, I would die for her. Anyway, EMDR therapy, do it. The fuck? I will talk about this to the day I die. The nightmare thing was just one example of it working immediately. There have been multiple things in my life that have been changed from one therapy session to the next after processing an event, and I genuinely am able to breathe, live, and enjoy life with so much less anxiety and fear and subconscious nervousness because of EMDR. I could sit here for hours and talk about it, but if you're gonna get one thing from this, I hope it's a little bit of knowledge about EMDR, a little bit more insight, more details. If you're struggling with resentment that you can't shake, or anger that you can't shake, or fear that you can't shake, EMDR. You're gonna have to do the hard work and relive through that stuff again, but once you do it, there's an immediate shift after. I'm 24, so I started it when I was like 19. The reason that I'm able to enjoy life now at 24 is because of EMDR. If I had not done EMDR, I would still be bitter, pissed, in pain, and I honestly don't think I'd be alive, because if I would not have been able to heal what I had healed and forgiven my mom for a lot of stuff before she passed, I would have absolutely erased myself. It saved my life. Dead serious.